Ever thought about what kicked off India's fight for freedom? It all began with foreign invaders, power struggles, and a slow but steady rebellion against the bad guys. Our story starts in 1600, when the East India Company was set up. This company seemed harmless, but was actually like a secret weapon that brought the British to India. First, they just wanted to control the spice trade. But as we know, too much power can make people greedy, and the company started showing its true colors. The big turning points were the Battle of Plassey in 1757 and the Battle of Buxar in 1764. These fights weren't just about land, they were about controlling and dominating a free country. The British, with their better weapons and clever tactics, won, and this began 200 of British rule. Under the British, India saw many changes. They made their own rules and didn't care about our culture and social life. The effect on India was huge. Their policies made people poor and caused famines. They brought in British goods which hurt our own industries. The British rule wasn't just about politics, they systematically destroyed our society and economy. Our rich country was turned into a poor and dependent one. But people didn't just sit and watch. They started to fight back, and this marked the start of India's freedom struggle. Have you ever wondered about the guts it took for the first fight against the mighty British rule? Mull over this as we jump into the 1857 mutiny, a milestone in India's fight for independence. Back in the mid-1800s, India was filled with anger. The British East India Company's land tax policies, racial bias, religion meddling, and the new Enfield rifle started a rebellion that rocked the British rule. The key players of this revolt are now legends in history. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal king, was called the Emperor of India by the rebels. Even with his old age and hesitation, Zafar stood as a symbol of unity for the revolt. Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, an icon of bravery, fought fiercely against the British, refusing to give up her kingdom. Her powerful words, "I will not give my Jhansi," still rings in the ears of every Indian. Then there was Mangal Pandey, a soldier in the Bengal infantry whose rebellious act is usually seen as the trigger of the revolt. Pandey's fight against the Enfield rifle, rumored to use greased cartridges insulting to both Hindu and Muslim soldiers, was a key moment in the revolt. Together, these leaders and many more unsung heroes led first combined fight against British rule. The revolt spread quickly, covering Delhi, Meerut, Kanpur, Lucknow, and Jhansi. The rebels fought with bravery and belief, but the British, with advanced weapons and divide-and-conquer tricks, finally crushed the revolt. But the 1857 mutiny was a game-changer. It marked the fall of the East India Company's rule and the start of direct British Crown control. It also started the spirit of nationalism in Indians, lighting a fire that would burn brighter in the years to come. Even though it didn't succeed, the 1857 mutiny left a lasting impression on the heart of the nation, setting the stage for future fights. What happens when a country, burdened by harsh rule, begins to recognize its own worth? The aftermath of the revolt of 1857 brought about a major change in how India fought for its freedom. This was the start of Indian nationalism, an awakening that would greatly impact the future of India. After the revolt of 1857, the people of India started to think about nationalism. The unfair rule and severe policies of the British had left the Indians wanting freedom, and they began to join together under the idea of nationalism, something that was more important than regional, language, or religious differences. In 1885, this feeling of unity and nationalism led to the creation of the Indian National Congress. 72 representatives from across the country came together with a shared goal: to get political rights and freedom for the people of India. The Indian National Congress, also known as the INC, marked the start of a more organized phase of the fight for freedom. The early leaders of the INC, often called the moderates, believed in peaceful protests and constitutional agitation. They wanted reforms and concessions from the British, not just independence. Their demands included civil rights for Indians, a bigger role in the government, and eventually self-governance. The moderates used peaceful methods. They used petitions, meetings, and peaceful protests to express their demands. They worked to educate the public and share the idea of nationalism. They believed in convincing and negotiating, not violent revolt. this time marked by moderate demands and peaceful protests, set the groundwork for the more intense phases of this fight for freedom that would follow. The start of nationalism was the spark that lit the fire of India's quest for freedom. This was the beginning of a more organized, unified national movement that would eventually shake the strong British rule in India. What happens when patience is wearing thin and normal methods seem to not work? This is the question that started the time of the strong nationalists in India's fight for freedom. This was a big shift, turning from softly asking for rights to strongly saying we want to govern ourselves. The strong nationalists were people who thought that the way to freedom was through strong and sometimes even harsh ways. Their methods were different from the moderates' calm requests. They said people should boycott, strike, and protest. It was a new kind of resistance that won't listen to the colonial power. Among these strong nationalists, some names are more known than others. For example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he was a big supporter of Swaraj, or self-rule. He once said loudly, "Swaraj is my right from birth and I will have it." His words echoed in the country, lighting a new fire of passion and determination among the people. Then there was Bipin Chandra Pal, a journalist, a politician, a powerful speaker. He, along with Lala Lajpat Rai and Aurobindo Ghosh, formed the trio famously known as Lal Bal Pal. Each one of them gave a lot to the struggle, using their special skills to unite the people against British rule. The division of Bengal in 1905 was a big event that made the strong nationalist cause even stronger. The British wanted to divide and rule, but their plan did not work. The division started the Swadeshi movement, telling Indians to stop buying British goods and support local industries. It was not just against British rule, but also a step towards standing on our own. The strong nationalists lit the fire of standing on our own and being assertive, preparing for the next part of the fight. Their role in India's fight for freedom can't be denied. They had the courage to stand against the powerful British Empire, and by doing this, they showed that the power to change history is in our hands. So, what impact did these happenings have on India's grand fight for freedom? Let's rewind a bit and try to make sense of this tale we've been telling. At the start of the struggle, we witnessed the birth of resistance, as India started to feel the burden of British rule. The 1857 revolt, often called the First War of Independence, was a big turning point. It was a joint fight against the British rule, with unity among all sections of India like never before. This event, though it didn't succeed, sparked the fight for India's freedom. This tiny spark of rebellion led the birth of Desi, or Indian patriotism. Indians started to see the need to unite against the British. Leaders like Dadabhai Nauroji and Surendranath Banerjee came forward asking for political rights and self-rule. The Indian National Congress, started during this time, became a ray of hope, bringing all Indians together. Then came the daring nationalists, a group of feisty individuals who believed in strong resistance. Their approach, though very different from the moderate leaders, played a key role in challenging the British rule. Their intense speeches and bold actions inspired many, adding speed to the freedom struggle. These happenings and individuals played a big part in the first phase of India's fight for freedom. They set the scene for what was to come, slowly leading to the birth of a free and independent India. From the initial of rebellion to the rise of daring nationalism, the first phase of India's struggle for freedom set the stage for a long, lasting fight for freedom that would finally succeed in 1947. Always remember, every big journey starts with a small step.